To tell you a little bit about myself, live in Tustin. I'm about 2 blocks from here with my husband, Frank. Yay, Frank. And our 2 dogs, Wally and Quinn. The dog on my lap is not one of my dogs. The dog here is with No Stray Left Behind, which is a rescue that's out here at Arvida uh, doing an adoption event today. So this one is called Nala. She's about 5 years old. She's been with the rescue for the longest time. So we thought we'd bring her out and have her hang out with us and get her a little bit of publicity today. Um, anyway, so other things about myself, I'm not, I keep going, I'm not a writer and I'm sitting here next to my book. I'm a scientist by training. I'm mostly a chemist. Most of the stuff I write is technical, but my passion is for animals and helping animals. And I've been fostering dogs for about 15 years now, one at a time. Sometimes 2 at a time, occasionally 3, which is too many because that's a lot of dogs in a small space. But I started taking a writing class, and they said, "Well, for your first book, why don't you? What is something you can talk about forever, for a long time?" And I'm like, dogs, dogs, cats, rescue, saving animals, helping animals, volunteering, getting along well with rescues. And so that's basically what my book is about. There's a lot of books out there that talk about, you gonna take her? Yeah. She looks like she looks like she's too chunky for my lap. Shh, don't tell them. You're great. You're great, Nala. She's just a little bit exercise impaired. Anyway, so there's a lot of books out there that talk about dogs in general, like A Dog's Life, A Dog's Story. Marley and Me, the dog dies at the end, and and other things about people's love for their dogs. And there's only like 1 or 2 books out there that really even address fostering dogs. And that's one of the biggest needs in the rescue community is fostering dogs, because um, the number of dogs out there that need help, that need a temporary place to crash, is seemingly endless. And the people that are looking for a good rescue dog, for a dog that would fit well in their home, there are more and more people like that anymore. But there just aren't enough people that are that go between, that will open their home for a little while to let a dog come and stay with them, to train them, to get them healthy, to support them, feed them until they get into that new home. So I think that's kind of what inspired me to talk about this. And so part of it is just nuts and bolts of, how do you find a rescue? How do you reach out to them? What do I say? How do I keep from how do I keep from just being overwhelmed with requests? Because that's one thing with rescues. Like Yvonne, if you're a foster and people know you foster, then people will reach out to you to try to take a dog that needs help. And there's so many dogs that need help that you can foster one. And if you don't have personal boundaries, then you can get overwhelmed and overstressed, and then it's not sustainable. So how do you put together something in your life where you can sustainably do something for a long time and help on a consistent basis? And then how do you deal with, what happens during an adoption? What do I do during an adoption? And then finally, like, how do I let them go? And how do I deal with the emotions of letting them go? And that's probably the number one question I get from people as a foster, besides how do you foster, is how do you even let them go? How do you deal with like having to say goodbye to them at the end? And there is a lot to be said for that. There is it can be hard. Like, there are sometimes I do get very attached and I get a little sad, but I always feel like if I go in with the right mindset that this dog is staying at my house for a little while and then it's going to go on, then I can do that. This isn't my dog. This is just, I'm dog sitting, or I'm staying a little while. Like, for example, my niece Juliet is here for a couple weeks, and no one is saying, "Hey, Gramps, how are you going to let Juliet go after 2 weeks? Aren't you going to want to keep her? Isn't she going to stay forever? Aren't you going to be sad when she goes?" And yeah, we're all going to be a little sad when you go, Juliet. But we also know that you don't belong to us. You're just like gracing us with your lovely presence for a little while, and we really enjoy doing fun activities with you and feeding you and letting you sleep at our house. And then you're going to go back and you're going to go to your own parents. So I think one thing about rescue is really having the right mindset, and I address that in this book. So as a technical person, I address the technical nuts and bolts of what should a dog know, how do you screen an applicant, how do you talk to an adopter, how do you how much to feed a certain dog a certain size. But I tried to really address some of the emotional aspects of having the right mindset as you go into things, and having the right expectations as you go through things. And so I guess as part of my talk, I just wanted to read part of the book. I think a lot of authors are doing that this week. That talks about the rescue mindset. Um, so jumping into chapter 2, a little ways in, it says the rescue mindset includes the idea that dogs are not a commodity. Dogs are not meant to bring in extra cash for us, and are not and should not be required to pump out litter after litter of puppies for sale. Dogs are not to be treated like investments that need to produce monetary return or be abandoned. Dogs are companion animals. They depend on us in every way. Where once they were wolves, now they've evolved to do party tricks, sleep on our laps, and wait patiently to be fed. Good breeders only breed puppies that will go into a home for life and have a guarantee. Breeders have a guarantee that they will take back the dog they created rather than see the dog die alone in a shelter. So that's why ethical breeders started to do open breed specific rescues, so that the breed they adore doesn't suffer. But not everyone adores a specific breed. I adore all dogs, although I do have my favorites. To me, it's the personality that wins, not the look. The rescue mindset that helps when I'm at a shelter goes something like this. To me, I look at that one dog I'm helping and I say, a lot of dogs won't make it out of here, but you will, my friend. You are a very lucky dog. The need is endless and can be overwhelming at times. Even if I'd taken home 10 dogs, there will be 10 more tomorrow. You have to focus on the one dog that's in front of you. You have to know that you're saving the life of a dog, and that matters. You can't fix everything. You have to do what is within your limits and what is sustainable in your life. I've never brought home 50 dogs, but I have done my part to save 50 dogs one at a time. Overall, dog rescue objectives are these: identify dogs that have been relinquished by their owner who need help finding a home. Keep the dog safe until during their stay with the rescue. 3, give the dog veterinary care that they need. 4, prevent further adding to the pet overpopulation by spaying and neutering each dog prior to adoption. 5, promote the rescue dog so that people will find them online or in person. 6, screen potential adopters so that they're a good match between the person and the dog. So it's not just about the dog, it's about the match between the person and the dog. 7, help advise the new adopter on the dog's care so that they are set up for success. And 8, be a safety net for the dog in case a new home doesn't work out. If you resonate with the mission of dog rescue and the rescue mindset, then you're a good candidate for fostering a dog in need. And my hope is that through this book, that people who have thought about fostering, who said, oh, it's too hard or it's too much or I can't do it now, will have that support that they need to get started, or at least have the book. And when someone else says, hey, I'm thinking about fostering, they go, oh, hey, here's a resource for you. And you can really like delve into it a little bit more, because we don't need more. Like, it would be nice to have more shelter space. It'd be nice to have people all spay and neuter their dogs. But right now, what we need in the rescue community is more people who are willing to just try it once, try bringing it home. And you might foster fail, as they say, which means you keep the dog. We're okay with that. But if people could just push themselves to try something that's hard in order to help somebody else, to help a dog, then it would make a world of difference in the rescue community. We also need people to adopt dogs. But yes, is amazing. Yeah, 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 yeah. Um, when I'm having a hard time and I don't have a foster, I'll go, well, maybe I just need a foster right now to make me feel better. Because you do, people do. You're right, Yvonne. People do get a good feeling that they're giving back and that um, you've got this little life in your home. And right now, give a little more detail about ourselves. We have a dog named Reese at our house. Reese's backstory was that he was living somewhere in the Inland Empire where he was owned, but he was loose with a couple other dogs. And somebody in the community called up a networker and said, I know these people are moving soon. I don't think they're going to take their dogs. And they didn't. And so this person went out with her other friend and they took about 4 or 5 days to trap all three dogs, but the dogs had nowhere to go. And so she put them in a kennel out of her own pocket and started networking to rescues. Do you have a foster? 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 In the meantime, Frank and I had finished our vacationing and we had some time. And so I reached out to our rescue. I said, okay, we're ready for another foster. She had like 5 different dogs for us to choose from, and we chose Reese. The first day he came home, he loved our dogs. Well, first off, first day he came home, a transporter drove him an hour and a half to our house, volunteer. He threw up in the crate. He was drooling. He was so like afraid of the car ride. He kind of slinked across the ground to get into our backyard. He's like, okay, I'll try this. He loved our dogs right away, and but he was sad and scared, and he wouldn't even come in the house. And so here's a dog that just needs that triage time between what he's been through, where he got abandoned, to where he's going to be in a great home. Um, the first 3 days he was depressed, and the next 3 days he was very sick with kennel cough. And about a week in, he started turning that corner where he started looking forward to treats. He started looking forward to walkies and looking forward to mealtime and playing with toys that I don't know if he ever had a toy before in his life. And I don't know what his end story is going to be, but right now he's safe. He's neutered. He's a joy to be around. Frank says he's the best dog that we've had, even though he's chewed up a couple things. And we have a couple good adoption applications for him. So there's a potential for a new home where he'll be in a safe yard, preferably with another dog because he really is pretty insecure, needs another dog, and a kid hopefully in his life because he was like all over Juliet's lap and loved that. And so I do get a lot of joy seeing like where he was at before. He had a couple ticks on him. He was dirty. He's smelly. To what his potential is. And if you can see that potential in a dog and you see where they're going to get going, then you can be that stepping stone in their story. And I'm going to miss him when he gets adopted. He's got the cutest face. But I'm going to feel even better that somebody in our community has seen this little diamond in a rough and been able to take them into their home and keep them safe and love on him and snuggle him on the couch, belly up with belly rubs, and he'll be able to trust somebody after everything he's been through. The resilience of dogs is just amazing. So I could, like I said, I could talk about dogs for a good hour, no problem. I could talk about books. You know, I'm planning more books on cat rescue. I've done a lot of kitten rescue and cat rescue that I think people could use information on how to get started. I'd like to do some other books that just really support the rescue community in order to achieve their goals. So, like right now, we have a rescue community out in a group out in the parking lot that's brought some of their dogs, and they said they have 25 dogs in their rescue. And I said, well, how many fosters do you have? She said 5, and that's not enough. Like people are going to get overwhelmed, you know. But if you had 20 people and 25 dogs, that would be amazing because then each dog gets their individual attention and the fosters don't feel like they're stressed trying to drive to appointments and trying to screen applications. So the more people that get involved, the more we build a community together that will really help to make a sustainable system to help dogs get homes. Um, And with that, I think I'm just going to open it up to questions. I could read more from my book. I have more stories in the book. Abby, which would you rather? Questions or another story? Okay, we do questions. I hope it's an easy one, Greg.
Hello.
Hi there.
Yes.
Question is, you say you just took this dog to be neutered.
Yes.
Okay. Who finances all this? That kind of,
Who
if
pays?
I foster a dog, do I bear all that expense?
That is a great question. When I first started fostering, I was just a young renegade that would go to the shelter, pull a dog, adopt it, pay for everything myself, and find a home through Craigslist or something. Um, I would not recommend that because having the support of a 501c3 nonprofit rescue gives you the financial support and the backing and the training and the know-how that you need. So right now our rescue pays for spay and neuter and other medical either through fundraising or through the adoption fees. So, and also through having a low cost spay and neuter, like we get a discount at the vet. So, who pays for things is something that any new foster should be asking the rescue. It's always assume that the rescue is going to pay for medical attention. And if not, um, well, that's definitely something you should talk about up front. Like when I take the dog to be neutered, what happens? If this dog suddenly has a medical emergency, where do I take it? What do I do? And is it going to be on my credit card? Because you should be a volunteer for a nonprofit organization, and the nonprofit pays for things. Um, I have one chart in my book that goes through different expenses and who pays for what. And so one thing is, or who does what, who's responsible for what. So you're responsible for keeping the dog safe. You're responsible for exercising the dog, for general training the dog to be a good, member of your household, especially like Reese. He's never been in a house before. You're the only one as a foster who can train him to do that. But the rescue, if you don't have the money for food, you talk to them up front. They will provide you with food. If you don't have the money for, um, let's say there's some behavioral issues, and you're like, this dog really needs more training than I can do. Either they'll move the dog to another foster, or they'll pay for a trainer to come over and work with you. And some rescues um, will even pay for toys, beds, um, leashes, collars. Like my rescue will give me a collar and a dog tag because that dog needs to be kept safe by having a dog tag. Um, and but transporting things like other responsibilities could be transporting the dog to the vet. You might be somebody who works 9 to 5 every day, and you're like, I can't foster because I can't take the dog to the neuter appointment. You can have that conversation up front, and the rescue will find a transporter to take the dog to and from the vet. And that's the great thing about being a part of a group is not everything falls on you. You do what you can. And on the flip side of that, let's say you can't foster a dog, but you can do a website. You could do an Instagram. You can drive. Driving a dog to and from a vet appointment might not be a lot in your day, but to a foster who's got 5 dogs, that could like save their day, that you can go and pick up the dog for them. So being a transporter, like the one gal in our group, Charla, she brings dogs to me from the Inland Empire. She'll drive an hour. She doesn't foster. Yeah. Yeah. But that's her way of giving. She's like, I can't foster dogs, but I have time to drive. And so every little bit counts and every bit helps. But just like any new relationship, having a common understanding of what to expect is really important, and communication is really important. So you don't want to go in assuming that they're going to drop off food at your door and then it doesn't happen, then you get upset. Talking with somebody up front makes a big difference. Any other questions? Yeah. Is it on? Hello, hello.
Check. There it goes. Hello. Could you explain a little bit about the transfer process when the dog is ready to move to another owner, and the process. Sometimes a dog doesn't want to leave, looks at
Oh.
your place as now this is my home. You give, I've heard stories about dogs that have been given to other people and then they jump the fence or whatever and start trying to find
Yeah.
where they were before because that's home. This is not home
Yeah.
in their mind.
Yeah.
So could you explain a little bit about that process? And maybe
Absolutely.
there's a slow thing with the new owner to get them acclimated or something like that?
Yeah. No, that's a great question because even if I know this dog isn't mine, some dogs are more sensitive than others. Like Reese, he's going to be a little bit mopey the first couple of days. So as far as first off, we try to make sure it's a really good fit between the owner and the dog first off. And so some of that is just our experience. This is a very energetic dog that likes to play. Here's an owner that is super energetic and likes to play. And so if it's a good match, it's during the meet and greet. So during the process of transition, let me back up. Someone will apply for the dog. They'll write in their application answers to questions. And from that application, we'll evaluate whether or not it's a good match mutually. So we got an application for Reese that I didn't think it was a good fit because they didn't have another dog. And I think he needs a secure dog that feels good about themselves for him to feel more comfortable and confident. And they live in a townhouse. And let me tell you, when we leave the house, if we all left and Reese was there alone, he would be howling because he doesn't like to be all alone. So I'm like, that's not a great fit. But once we do find a great fit for him, so let's say a home where they've got another dog and they're understand that it's going to take time and they're very sensitive to him, then we'll have a conversation on the phone with them and screen them a little more and talk with a person and see if if there's any deal breakers. Let's say I say, oh well, Reese, he sheds a lot. I'll lay it out there. I'm not trying to sell anybody anything. I'm like, he is white and he sheds. And so if you're wearing black, you will have white fur on you. And they're like, okay, well, that's not a big deal. And I'm like, okay, he also needs baths every couple weeks because he's got that hound smell. Okay. So I'll tell him all the good and the bad. And he also he needs things to chew on because he chewed up my power cord for my computer today. And so I'll give them the good, bad, and ugly. And then I'll say, give them their whole story. And if they're still like, yeah, this sounds like my kind of dog, I'll be okay. And when they come over for the meet and greet, there will be a contract that legally transfers him to them if they adopt him. But they're not, when they meet him, they're not obligated to adopt him. But after meeting and they spend some time with them in our house, if they still are really interested, they can take him that same day. And 9 times out of 10 in my home, when a dog meets the right person leashes them up, they walk out the door, dog doesn't look back. They're like, goodbye, see ya, I got my spot, there's 2 dogs there already, I'm gonna go with these people and take my chances. And I love them. They smell like bacon. It's a good match yeah. And that 1 time out of 10 when it's not a really well screened match, or when it's a dog that's very not as resilient, let's say, like adjustments are difficult. I had a dog that, I'll take the dog out and I'll be like it's no big deal. Like if I'm emotional, if I'm sad, if I'm acting like it's a big deal, the dog's going to pick up on that. So I'll actually have a conversation. I'll be like, okay, buddy, your family's coming today and they are amazing. Your family is going to keep, let you sleep on the bed. They're going to give you cookies. They're going to take you for walkies. You're going to love these people. So in my mindset, I'm already kind of talking it up to myself too. Like, Wendy, don't get sad. This is exactly what you want. And then if need be, I'll put the dog in the back of the car. Like, hey, you guys, okay, I'll see you. You're going for a trip. No big deal. But then that dog sometimes will look out the back of the truck like, no, no. And I'll check in with the people but I'll let them know what to expect. I'll be like, the first couple days, it's going to be a little rough. He's probably going to cry. He might start to look. Make sure you don't overwhelm him. You don't take him out. Just let him bond with you in your home. Keep him home for the first couple days. Keep him home for the first week. Don't take him to the dog park and let him bond with you. and make sure that gate is locked. And the dog will, yeah. So there's this 3-3-3 or 2-2-2 rule. The dog changes, or you see more of its personality in the first. There's a change in the first 3 days, the first 3 weeks, the first 3 months. So the first 3 days of having Reese, he was depressed. After that, he started coming out of his shell. And then the first three, we're just at the 3 week mark around, I think we hit 3 weeks last week. And that's when he started chewing. But other behavior started coming out, calm and comfortable. Yes. Yeah. They start to get the routine. They start to, their little personality, they know the routine. They know what to expect. They know what time dinner is. They know where to sit for dinner. And then 3 months, they learn to feel really at home with you and to be able to trust you enough to go out to a dog park or wherever you're going to take them, Petco, and they're like, nothing bad's going to happen to me here. The first 3 days, not necessarily, but their personality comes out in phases. And new adopters, I inform them of that as well, that you're going to give it a couple weeks to transition, give it a few weeks, because you'll see that the whole personality will come out, and he bonded closely with me. He's gonna bond closely with you. Yeah. 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 Give him time. Yeah. And when you talk, I'm so glad. Yeah. Yeah. So Yvonne is also a foster with Friends of Orange County Homeless Pets, which is the group I'm fostering for. And Yvonne's been doing this. She just reached her 300th dog. So Yvonne, when you chime in, use the mic because I want to hear you. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I started a little over 10 years ago. And the end of May, I hit 300 fosters. And the reason I started fostering was to find my dog. So I wasn't sure what breed I wanted. So I said, let's foster. Let's foster. Oh,
yeah,
now
that's
I can
okay.
hear
That's
myself.
better.
Let's foster. And so my fifth foster, I started in January, found my fifth foster in May.
Yeah.
And he is my 11-year-old Dakota. He's
a sweetie.
He has, so I've had him 10 years now. And I just kept on doing it because initially I was all organized. Oh, this is what I'm going to do for my volunteer work, right? I do church.
Use the microphone.
I wanted to do something else. So I thought this could be a volunteer, satisfy that part of my life. And little did I know that there's a saying on bumper stickers that says, who rescued who?
Yeah.
Because so I just kept on going, and I have made tremendous friends. I've created a business of dog sitting.
Yeah.
Because of it, because people were like, we're going on vacation. What are we going to do with the dog?
Yeah.
I'm like, well, the dog stayed
that
here
was
before.
Us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I also, if you're picking a rescue organization, that's important.
Yeah.
Because they're not all the same.
I go over that in the book too. That some of them, like, what do you do if you have a dog? I have a whole FAQ section. What do you do if you have a dog that the rescue brought over to your house and it's not getting along with your dog, right? Or it's not a good fit for your household? Like, what do you do? And a good rescue organization will talk with you first and see if there's anything that they can do to keep the dog there. Like, let's say
send a trainer over.
Help you with crate training, give you advice on dog behavior, other behavioral assessment type of things that they can do. But if it's not a good fit, they will move that dog to another foster. And then so it shouldn't bring so much stress to your life that you're like, oh my God, 4 months later, I have this dog that's attacking the cat. This isn't working. A rescue group that's overwhelmed or that's not responsive, it's much more difficult to do that.
Well, and I can tell you, when I was filling out applications to fosters, I got turned down.
Yeah.
By 2 other organizations, and I was like,
I'm shocked.
Well, this was over 10 years ago, so my experience was different. And the reason I was looking for a dog is because 3 months prior, animal control came and took my dogs and put them down.
Oh my God, that's a whole story.
Yes, and that of course is on the record. So they saw that and said, no, you can't foster.
Oof. Yeah.
It was a very traumatic kind
Yeah.
of a situation. Um,
Yeah. When I'm looking at applications, like what's on paper and what's in real life are, you know,
Well, and
there's a whole story, and I
the
try
other
to
thing I
get
was
to know
gonna
the person.
right. The other thing I was going to say, for me as a person, this has taught me to listen to my gut.
Yeah.
If it feels like something's off, something's off. Like it just. And in the beginning, my thought always was, who am I to deny somebody
Yeah.
adopting this dog or this dog going to a new home? It's, you know, but what happens is that when you get that feeling, inevitably that dog is coming back.
Yeah.
And I've had dogs returned, and I've had dogs returned after a year.
Yeah.
So
It
yeah.
happens.
Yeah.
It happens. Sometimes, you know, not everybody has the same mindset that they want to, you know, commit for the life.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
I call people that there are people that are car shopping for a dog
Eh,
where they want a certain color, a certain age, a certain poundage. So I call those people car shoppers. They're not really looking to rescue a dog. They're looking for somebody to be an accessory for them.
there are, yeah.
Yeah.
But
And
I
that's
try not-
okay
I-
to be
you know,
particular, but
I try not to, like, you know, put down people for knowing what they want, though.
oh, I'm not
you
putting them
know?
down, but they're not in it for the dog.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
especially
So
if it's
what other questions? Oh,
Over here again.
again, troublemaker.
All right. So, first of all these things you talk about
Yeah.
are in your book.
Yes, all in the
Okay.
book and in more detail. And I also put in some anecdotes in there too to give like examples.
Okay.
Yeah.
The other question is, so I'm going to pay a fee to go ahead and rescue this dog, correct? I mean, the new owner.
The new owner does pay an adoption fee. Yes.
Okay. So what if they take this dog
Yes.
and it's gone for a month and they say this isn't working out?
Yeah.
Do they get money back?
That depends on the rescue. So
Okay.
so what happens with adoption fee if a dog is returned depends on the rescue.
Okay.
A lot of rescues that I've talked with, if it's within a certain amount of time, like let's say the first 2 weeks,
Okay.
then yeah. But
Sure.
others, as soon as you pay the adoption fee, then the money's gone.
Okay.
You know, so that's something that would be rescue specific.
Buyer beware.
And oh well, another thing is like as a foster, let's say the rescue brings me a dog that I'm going to foster and it's doing really well, except that now it's chewing on everything and it ruins somebody's prescription sunglasses. No names. Who pays for that? Not the rescue. That dog ruins your carpet, they ruin your sunglasses, they ruin whatever while they're in your house. That's on you. So, I go into detail about dog proofing your home before bringing in even a senior dog can do things in your house that you're not expecting. You go, well, my dog never pees in the house, my dog never does this, my dog never does that. This other dog doesn't have that training yet. And so it can be a little stressful on fosters the first little while getting to know like what else needs to be dog proof that they never thought about before. I've had somebody say that they had planters like this next to their block wall, and this little Jack Russell could run up, jump off the planter, and go over the wall. And they're like, okay, you got to block the planters now. You know, I'm like, who would ever thought of that? You know, not with a lab wouldn't do that. Maybe a husky would do that. Oh, husky rescues are very particular about who can foster because the same exact thing. Huskies are known to jump out of yards. And nothing gives me a heart attack like having a dog escape. Oftentimes foster dogs have been in the shelter where they got dropped off by their family, or they were strays and they then end up in the shelter. So in the first incidents, they think their family's out there. And so for the first little while, a few days to a week, they might actually actively try to get back to their family that abandoned them. And that's just heartbreaking to me. So you have to watch the door, you have to watch the gate. I've got a double gate now, you know, but still at the front door, you know, sometimes you're bringing in groceries and that foster dog is more likely to jump out the door to go find their family. Or like I said, they could be a stray. Hey, I've been out on the streets. I know how to go find my own food. I know there's French fries at the McDonald's, and I know how to get to the park. I might not know this neighborhood, but I can do it myself, and that's their little mindset. And so they're like, oh, the gate's unlatched. See, I'm going around the block. Okay, I've had my own dog do that before, Luigi. But so sometimes they just have this confidence that they don't need to be contained because they've got bravado and they can get out. So dog proofing your home is really important before bringing home any new dog, especially a dog that's been in the shelter. Yeah. Frank, did you have a question? Absolutely. This is my husband.
I was gonna be a plant.
Oh, sorry. You didn't wear the mustache.
No, I forgot.
You're blocking the camera.
So I had a quick question
Yeah.
about, you said just do it, right? Just go out and become a foster. And want to know if there are any licenses or training or anything like that I need to do before I can become a foster.
Oh, that's a great question. So if you're, it depends is the answer. You can just go out and like somebody wants to get rid of their dog and take their dog on your own and find them a new home. That's technically fostering. Some groups that are rescue groups, there's an application that you have to fill out to apply to foster, so they know a little bit about you before they trust you with a dog that they're responsible for, because they are responsible for the dog. So if the dog, anything medically happens to the dog, if the dog bites somebody, the rescue is responsible. So they have to know you. Some groups have training that you would have to go through, either just talking over the phone or in-person training. You could also foster for the shelter. So like Orange County Shelter has a foster program primarily with underage kittens where people can bring home kittens, but those actually are on site a day of training. So the amount of preparation you need really depends on the group. And if you were going to start fostering, I would ask that as a question up front is, oh, if I'm going to foster for you, I filled out this application, what kind of training is required? And if they say nothing, we'll just bring you a dog, they might not be giving you enough support. Or if they say nothing, but if you need anything, here is Yvonne's number. You're going to be partnered up with Yvonne. And when you have questions, you've got someone to go to. That could be enough too. But depending on the person and your dog experience, let's say if you have no dog experience, it can be very daunting just to have somebody show up with a poodle and say, here you go. So you have to assess how much training you need, I think. Juliet? Nothing?
Dave?
Robert?
Bring my very spoiled dog to you.
Oh, hi! No. You broke him. You keep him. He said, how about if I bring my very spoiled dog to you? I love your dogs. I'm so glad you're here. No, we don't. Your dog has a very good home.
What's harder, raising cats or dogs? I mean, rescuing cats or dogs?
Oh, that's a really good question because I've fostered both cats, kittens, dogs. To me, personally, like I think kittens are easier, and this is why. Because kittens, when they're little, they're kind of a bit of a blank slate to me. They're very predictable as kittens. They have, they eat, they poop in the litter box, they play, and you have them a short amount of time, let's say before they can be neutered up until the point where they're spayed and neutered. So like, let's say you might have them from 5 weeks up to 12 weeks, and then people are clamoring for a kitten, so the time period is short. But then there's like 5 or 6 of them potentially, right? So pros and cons. Dogs, I think adult dogs to me are easier than puppies because adult dogs have a personality and and so their personality. Puppies are kind of growing into their personality, and adult dogs learn faster than puppies because their brains are formed. So if I was to foster, like if I was to say what is the easiest dog to foster as a first time foster, I'd say get like a 5-year-old or senior. Yeah. But seniors can take like a year to get adopted. So let's say 4 years old, 3 years old. So sweet spot, poodle mix dog that is already potty trained. And I'd be like, try that out. You know, low energy dog that's already potty trained. Adult dogs can be difficult. Puppies have to be potty trained. So that's hard. They don't shed hair, so you have to deal with the shedding. And people like there's select people who really look for dogs that don't shed. Oh, no, there. Yeah, go ahead, Yvonne. There's certain dogs that you know are going to be
certain
popular.
breeds that people pay really good money if
Yeah.
they get them from a breeder.
Yeah.
So to get like a Shih Tzu or
Yeah.
a Bichon or those kind of
Yeah. Oh, so that's the other thing. Like purebreds, like there are amazing purebred rescues out there.
I had 4 of the 6 Pekingese.
Oh, they're
Pekingese
adorable.
breeder was done breeding the dogs because
And dumped
nobody
them.
was buying them, and dumped 6 purebred Pekingese dogs.
Yeah, in the desert.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They had a lot of issues,
And eye
but
issues.
they're
They're
the
great.
Pekingese people came out looking for these dogs,
Yeah.
and I had like 5 or 6 applications
Yeah.
for each dog. So the breed, the age, all of that can
Make a
that's
big
how I got to
on how fast
300.
it doesn't mean that the need is less. So I talked to a friend of mine a couple days ago who is looking for a rescue to take a purebred 5-year-old French bulldog. But she said the French bulldog rescue is full. They don't have enough fosters. And she's like, this dog is aggressive towards other dogs, so it needs to be an only dog, and it's attacking these other dogs in the home. Do you have a way to help us? I'm like, people love French bulldogs, but if there's not a foster dog home to be that interim space, then we can't get them from where they were to where they're going. So that's the other thing. Like as far as easy versus hard, I'd say certain breeds are easier than others. If you breed specific rescue, there is a dire need for that as well. Labs, huskies, shepherds, like I know some great rescues out there. Shiba Inu has their own rescue, and they end up in the shelter. They end up being abandoned. They end up being rehomed, just like any other mixed breed dog. And I even go through like, do you want to do purebred rescue or do you want to do mixed breed rescue? What's speaking to your heart? So if you have a lab and you're like, I know about labs. I could take another lab in that's, not a puppy because I don't want to deal with potty training, and not a senior because I don't want to, like, as a first time foster, if you have a lab, foster for a lab rescue because you know a little bit about the ins and outs. And if the lab rescue is responsive and supportive, you could do a lot of good because there's a ton of labs in the shelter still, and a lot of people that want labs, but not that in between space. Anyway, I think the hardest dogs to get adopted, there's a difference between what's hard to get adopted and what's hard to foster. To me personally, the hardest dog to foster are ones that push my buttons. So everybody has the things that bother them, right? For some people, it's like, oh gosh, this dog is Velcro dog. It follows me around everywhere. It doesn't bother me at all. Other people, it's like, oh, this dog is too snappy, and if I try to take its bowl away, it's going to snap. I can deal with that. Dogs that will not go potty outside drive me nuts. And other people don't care. They're like, I just put down a potty pad. It's all good. I'm like, there's a dog door and you pooped inside the house. But everybody has their thing, So that's the hardest dog to foster, is the one that's going to push your buttons, I used to have a dog I had a Mastiff. Would I foster a dog that has slobbers all the time now? It's not my preference. So that's just me, though. Other people would be like, I can't have a dog that can't be around kids. We don't have kids. I'd be fine with a dog that's not kid friendly. So whatever is, you have to know yourself to know where your boundaries are. The hardest dogs to get adopted, I think, are plain brown. Plain brown, not flashy. Because people look for what attracts their eye before they look at the personality. And when it doesn't photograph very well, and they're on the petfinder.com, which is the match.com of dogs, and you've got one that's speckled and spotted and has some behavioral issues maybe, versus one that's plain brown that has a great personality, flashy. People will pick the flashy one first. So I do have a heart for dogs like the one that was on my lap earlier. That's just a plain brown Chihuahua. There's not a darn thing wrong with her, but she's been in the rescue for 3 years because there are a dime a dozen out there. 3 years. So I know. So I'm like, let's promote those kind of dogs out there and get them on social media more, get them, on videos, take them out to adoption events like she is today and get them adopted because her personality is wonderful. So anyway, people will take a dachshund with medical issues over a brown dog, black face, nondescript breed, for adopting. And that's just, I have no problem with people adopting whatever they want to adopt. I think that if you're going to adopt what you want, but I would like to see more like peeling below the surface and asking the rescue, hey, this is my lifestyle. This is what I have. What kind of dog do you have that would be a good fit? They might have the flashy one along with 4 others, and they might be saying, yeah, you can adopt this one, but this other one is a good hiker and da 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 and fits your needs. And if you meet the dog, you could fall in love. So being a little, like you said, Yvonne, a little open-minded can go a long way to get dogs homed. Anyway, I think we've got about 10 minutes left. Anything else? I think. Oh. Okay.
If you're fostering the dog
Yes.
and all of a sudden the dog like runs away from you and ends up getting picked up and it goes to the pound or whatever you want to call it, do you have paperwork that you can go get that dog back?
Yeah.
Or not? Okay.
Okay. So any dog that I'm fostering has a dog tag on it, and that dog tag has the rescue's information on it. So let's say you were fostering a dog and it got out somehow. And accidents happen. First thing I would do is to call the rescue coordinator. It's embarrassing and it's horrifying, and I'm out there driving the streets, but the rescue coordinator, what they'll do is they will be the one answering the phone when someone calls. So you don't have to be like watching your phone at the same, like they're actively as invested in this dog as you are. And they could actually get other people that they know local to come out and help you find the dog. So let's say it's somewhere in your neighborhood and you're like, it's not coming to me. I'd be like, okay, can you get Yvonne and Charlotte and whoever else to come help me? Maybe between the 4 of us, we can get it. And if worst comes to worst, gets picked up by animal control, it's at least tagged, and the rescue will come out and help you get that dog back. And if you work for a good rescue with somebody who's understanding, they'll be like, I get it happens. Other times they'll be like, you're never fostering again. But I we know these things happen. I had our last foster, totally different, but he had to go to the emergency vet, and I was horrified. He was not eating. He was not pooping for like 2 days. And I was like, what did I do? It seems, and he went to the vet. He had a blockage. And I was like, I feel so guilty because I'm the one that has anything he could have put in his mouth. And Cindy was like, no worries. I'm making an appointment. You show up at this time. Frank took him over. The dog, they made him throw up, and he ate grass. He had such a ball of grass in his belly that it blocked him up. And Cindy was like, I've seen it all. I have seen soup to nuts. This doesn't surprise me. I'm glad he's better. Take him back home. And I think that rescue people can be some of the most compassionate, not just to animals, but to people as well.
The dogs are also microchipped.
Microchipped, yeah.
So if for chance they don't have a tag on, they can scan them.
Yeah.
And I believe as soon as they see it's a rescue, the animal control will call the rescue.
Yeah.
Because they really don't want to keep the dog.
Yeah.
So they know that it goes someplace else.
Yeah. So I'm just saying, if it wasn't microchipped yet, because usually they get microchipped when they get neutered. But microchipping it saves a lot of dogs' lives. Yeah. Okay. Well, I really just want to thank you for coming out. I think it's been just like a joy of my life to sit here and talk to people about dogs for an hour, and especially knowing that it's going to be on YouTube. Thank you, Sam, that I can point people to the live stream later, and thank you, Frank. We'll use this footage as well, and I just want to get the word out more about the book. Buy the book. I mean, I can't talk about the book without saying buy the book. It's available here at Arvida. It's also on Barnes and Noble. It's also on Amazon. And also, I hope that this helps the rescue community to. Oh, that is a stock image. Everything I did for this book was absolutely free. I will say that. I know. Well, the dogs in the book are all dogs that have either my dogs or dogs that I fostered. The dog on the cover, I went to Canva and did a free cover because the whole book I wrote myself without paying a cover artist. So the dog, it looks like a dog that I used to have, though. It looks a little bit like Lily. And I just thought it was appropriate because it's somebody loving on a dog that's happy, and that's how I think of fostering, is making dogs happy. On YouTube, it's under Arvida Book Company. So right now it's being live streamed, and then later on she said that it'll be available as a video, right? Is that right? Yeah. Yeah. So I'll post it on Facebook too. All right. Well, thank you all. I really appreciate this. And thanks for doing the video.